hear you're ready for your dose of reality.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another exciting episode of the Dr. Quack Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Quack.
And I'm the important one, Mr. Mayhem, and we're continuing on our Dear Pro Wrestling Chronicles, the Pro Wrestling Diaries of things that need to be solved and fixed or looked at in a better way in pro wrestling.
Well, this is our Dear Independent Wrestling. We're not talking about the higher-ups. We're talking to the ones down there wrestling on the independent circuit and the promoters.
But the upstairs do need to use this. The big dancers, as they're known in the independent circuit, we have 3 right now. Well, there's a lot more. Pro Wrestling Illustrated just introduced a lot more, but this applies to everybody. Whether you're WWE and Vince McMahon or lowly guy who just bought a ring and wants to run your first show, we're covering the entire gamut.
That's right. This episode is dedicated towards advertising and social media. You know, you see a lot of this on Facebook, I'm sure, and all the other social media sites. You see wrestling promoters and wrestlers themselves trying to promote themselves. And some of these guys, do it right, and some of these guys do it wrong.
Yeah, when we started out in wrestling, websites for wrestlers were still a fairly new concept. Not a lot of boys in the back had their own websites, let alone MySpace wasn't even really around yet, let alone Facebook. Facebook didn't even exist.
Yes.
So there's been a lot of use of the internet lately, and in some ways it's a good thing, in some ways it's to our detriment. You had a couple of suggestions of things you wanted to talk about right off the top.
Yeah, actually, this is the first thing I really want to say. Look, if you are a professional wrestler, you do not want to put your personal business out there. You are trying to promote yourself as a wrestler, not trying to promote yourself as a nutcase or anything else. You're not talking about your personal life. You need to stick to the script. If I'm promoting myself, you're going to hear a lot about Dr. Quack, not about Jeremiah Kaup.
And me, I'm a big proponent of compartmentalization. As Mr. Mayhem, the important one, Mr. Mayhem, or my character in Colorado, the gold standard, Michael Madoff, I kept them separate and different. I didn't talk about wrestling business on my personal Facebook page. They didn't even have one. Mr. Mayhem didn't even have one. The gold standard didn't have one. But if you decide you want to go that route, keep them separate. Keep your personal life personal, your wrestling life separate. You could be I'm just going to use a prime example. You could be a Biden supporter and your wrestling character be a Trump supporter. You don't want the two to mix. Keep them separate. Treat them as different human beings.
Exactly. And some people do this already, and if you don't, this is something I suggest. You should make your own page. We made our own page for the Dr. Quack Podcast because we wanted it separate. And that's what you want to do. You want to have your character separate. Also, wrestling promoters, God, the flyers went out about 10 years ago. We don't need flyers of your show, of showing everybody on the show. I see too much of this. The clutterness on a poster, I'm just like, wow, 20 wrestlers are going to be there, and half of them look like they came straight out of the trailer park. They need to hit the gym. You only need to put the important ones on there, no pun intended. But that's what you need. You need your champion needs to be on there. Main attractions, they need to be on there. Of course, spelling is a big thing. If you're going to have a great show, make sure it's legible, that you can read it and understand where it is, what it's about, what the name of your show is. You need all that.
I'm gonna contradict you a little bit. Flyers are still needed, but they're done differently. You don't need to have 5,000 flyers and paper the town, which is one of the two kayfabe words, papering the town. You either give out free tickets, or you put your flyer on every single sign. Either term is called papering the town. But you still need flyers because social media, again, you want to put your flyer out there on Facebook, but you should do both. Facebook is a good tool, but Facebook only reaches people who know who you are. The casual fan driving down the street, you can still use some flyers, but as he said, main attraction, something that's going to catch the attention. 20 wrestlers doesn't catch my attention. If you were to book Hacksaw Jim Duggan, he's coming in to wrestle your champion. That catches my attention. Where you're wrestling catches my attention. The date you're wrestling catches my attention. The time the bell starts catches my attention. Maybe a sponsor or two captures my attention. Less is more. That's something we said all along. Less is more. The longer you have to look at a flyer, the less time I'm paying attention to what you're doing because I'm scrolling by not paying attention anyway or driving by looking at it. One or two things is all you need on a flyer. And as you said, flyers are a thing of the past. They're still usable. Use them on Facebook, but also use them out there to try and get some attention of your local fans.
Yeah, and another big thing that I have seen some people do, I've done this myself. It's called making a commercial. You know, when I work with the VOH, I try to do commercials for their shows, 30, 45-second commercials, to get people excited, to get people entertained. I mean, it's a thing that works with technology today. Also, a big thing I will tell you, because just about every independent pro wrestler and some wrestling fans even have a podcast. Like us, you know, get with them because maybe they'll want to have you on for an interview. You want to promote yourself to the world? Go do interviews as well about your character, about your time in the business. You know, this is how you get yourself out there. You can't just sit on the couch and expect the promoter to promote you. You need to promote yourself.
Yes, it's a symbiotic relationship, and it's about 70-30. You should bill yourself 70% of the time, but do it judiciously. Don't get into internet wars. Don't cut promos on each other building your matches. More about who you are and why you're there to come see you. Only the bad term smart marks and the fans who think they know the wrestling business care about the arguments on the internet. The promoters actually don't like it. They actually want you to be saying, hey, come out and see me. Come out and see my match. Come out and see the other people. Come out and buy my merchandise. That's how you promote yourself on there, on the internet.
And you know what promoters care about, right? If you've watched in the past, it's a big word. Every 18 inches being filled in the arena. Butts in the seats. That is what matters. And let me tell you, Mr. Independent Wrestler, if you're a guy who's just starting, it's always a good thing to go up to the promoter and say, hey, you need some tickets sold? Here, let me take about 10, 15 tickets and get them sold for you. Believe me, that's a big factor to a wrestling promoter. They like that. You want to get in good with them. You want to be put on the show. You want to show them a reason why you belong there. That one is a good reason.
And if you're somebody like me, I rarely ever wrestled close to where I lived. I always drove 3, 4, 5 hours one way for a show. Show up early. If your bell time is 7 o'clock, you should be there at 4. Even if for nothing else to help set up chairs, to know you're in the right location. If they need help papering a little bit, cleaning up, sweeping the mat, helping set up the ring. I spent 15 years in the ring, and up until about the 12th year, I would still help set up the ring from time to time. I still help put up chairs because there's a lot of things to do before the show. And another thing that shows to the promoter, you're worth taking some time out because they're investing money in you. They're hoping if you get a $50, 4 people have to show up to pay your entrance fee. But if you show up and help set up chairs, you've just made yourself worthy of that $50.
Exactly. And another big thing, don't be afraid to share yourself, okay? If you're going to do a promo or you're going to promote yourself on a poster or a commercial and you're putting it on your own social media page, share it everywhere. There are tons of wrestling fan pages. There are tons of wrestling shows that are all over Facebook. You want to make sure you get it out there. You want people to go, hey, I want to come see this guy.
And the last thing we're going to go into, this is something that he's had a lot more experience with than I have, talking about your merchandise table and how you advertise your merchandise. That is a big money maker right now in the world of independent wrestling. Merchandise, or as it's known colloquially, merch.
Right, and I'm going to put a photo, it's going to be right up here, okay? It's a guy named Ray Fury, and Ray Fury, I believe, did a great job with his merchandise table. He had it all out there. You were able to see what he was all about, selling himself. You know, if I saw that table and I was a fan, I'm sure I would have bought something.
Yes, and if you're gonna do merchandise, you're gonna be spending money to make money. You're not gonna make money right off the bat. Spend a couple $100, $300, get your t-shirts made. Get some photos put together, professional photos, not photos where you're standing in front of a door and you can see the commode in the corner. I'm automatically a no-go on that photo.
Yes.
Professional photos. And then take some time, and get cards made or little placards made so you can tell everybody right up front. You don't have to waste time as you're trying to sell this ticket or sign this autograph. Somebody asks you, hey, how much does that t-shirt cost? They can just look. Take some time, make your professional, and then as you get a little bit of money, do what Mr. Fury did, and have a little sign or banner made, advertising yourself. Let people know you're there. You're there to sell your product to those fans who want to pay that money to make you a little bit of money on the side.
That's right, folks. And that is our episode for the second one here on advertising and social media. Our next episode is going to be about a promotional packet. This is more for the independent wrestler who wants to move up. We're going to go over things that you are supposed to put in there and not supposed to put in there.
And we're going to add and tack onto that locker room and backstage etiquette, because the two of those go hand in hand. If you have bad backstage etiquette, your promo package going out to the promoters isn't worth a damn if you have no backstage etiquette.
Exactly. So make sure you tune in for that. That'll be out next week. I'm your host, Dr. Quack.
I'm the important one, Mr. Mayhem, saying thanks for following along with us. Leave a comment or leave some ideas of other things that you as independent wrestlers have seen that you think we need to talk about and help educate the wrestling community.
And we're out.